Hello, everyone. We are back again for this week's edition of the Redbird Report. It's not yet March, but it's already madness time as the tournament is starting this weekend in St. Louis. Today, Jim, was kind of the honors day and a good day for Illinois State's Paris Lee.
Yes, it was. Paris became the fourth player in Valley history to win both the Player of the Year award and the Defensive Player of the Year award. Great honor for Paris. He won it actually rather easily over Wichita State's Marcus McDuffie and Landry Schmidt. Paris has just been the leader of this ISU team all year, and when you have a senior point guard who's a defensive ball hawk like he is and has kind of really added to his offense a little bit this year, it was a pretty easy choice in my mind.
Indeed it was. For a team that went 17-1 and is the top seed in the Valley tournament, you would have thought that more players than just Paris Lee would have been on the all-team first team.
Right, yeah. I'm shocked, actually, that Deonte Hawkins is not on the first team. Here's a leading scorer and leading rebounder on the team that went 17-1 in the league, and he's on the second team. I don't understand it at all. I think some people just based a couple choices just on total stats. But gosh dang, I mean, that guy was the leading scorer and rebounder on the team that went 17-1. That guy has to be rewarded with almost an automatic spot on the first team. I just don't get it, but I think it's going to fuel him a little bit for this weekend. So, maybe in hindsight, it'll be a good thing for the Redbirds.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so Lee did have a good day with the honors, but, kind of underestimated it with under-reflected in the honors. So what does that do for their motivation going into Sunday?
I think just a little bit. I think once you get on the court, though, all that stuff kind of goes out the window a little bit. It's kind of nice chatter before the games and all that. But I think once you get out there, you're not thinking, oh, God, I wasn't first team. I got to really show them. It's just maybe in the back of your mind a little bit, and just something to kind of use for a little more motivation. It's just a little bit, but I don't think it's great. I think the big motivation is winning the tournament and not having to sweat out a week, wondering whether you're going to the NCAA tournament.
Exactly. That's going to be the main key. But the first up is obviously going to be the first game. And as the one seed, you get a bye, so you don't know exactly who you're going to play yet. The Redbirds have had to prepare for two opponents.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of good because in practice this week, you kind of focus more on yourself. And like Dan Muller said this afternoon, you focus on fundamentals and you really try to get solid in those things. Those things sometimes get lost during the season when you're always just prepping for game after game after game. So, to be able to do 2 days of really solid work just on yourself, I think that's actually pretty good.
So, while Dan has to prepare and the team has to prepare for either opponent, you can kind of speculate as to who might win that game between Evansville and Indiana State.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a toss-up game. The first time Indiana State won in overtime, and then just last Saturday they played again, and Evansville hit 2 free throws with about 3 seconds left to win by 2 points. So, I mean, it's just a really tough game, and obviously those two are rival schools. I mean, that's the big rival for each one of them. So it should be a very spirited game, and the thing about that is that poor team has to come back 16 hours later and play another game. I think that team that wins that 8-9 game is in the worst position of anybody in the whole tournament. But conversely, though, last year Loyola played in that game, won it, and they had Wichita State on the ropes with 5 minutes left in St. Louis. So sometimes you can use it to your advantage a little bit, but I just think the fatigue factor really can wear you down. And both of those teams, neither one of them are really, really deep. Indiana State's a little deeper than Evansville. Evansville's not very deep at all.
But like you said, that Loyola-Wichita State game last year shows that you can't take anybody for granted at any time.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, it's just it's one game. I mean, one and done, and that's really kind of the great thing about conference tournaments is they really prepare you for, if you're in the NCAA or NIT or whatever tournament you're in. It's just you got to come and play ball that day, or it could be over real fast.
You kind of mentioned it already, but how long of a long week is it going to be between Sunday and Selection Sunday for whoever doesn't win this tournament?
If you're saying Wichita State or Illinois State, it'll be a real long week. They're going to have everybody on national TV, all these experts, pick them apart like mad, showing they didn't play anybody, they played in a bad league, blah, 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 blah.
They're only top 50 wins against each other.
Against each other, exactly right. So, I mean, it's going to be a long week and all that.
All right, well, we've got a couple questions on Twitter, as we always do. The first one's going to come from Robert. He says, outside of the top 2 players in the ISU-Evansville game, Indiana State Evansville game, who should ISU be keeping an eye on should either team win?
Well, let's go first. Indiana State. Brenton Scott's kind of their kind of star player a little bit. outside of him on their team, I think that the T.J. Bell is a guy to kind of watch out for. He's a big center. He did. I don't think he played the first time when they played him at Indiana State. He had actually quit the team, and then he came back and he played at Illinois State the second game. And the game Illinois State only won by 5 points, and he gave them a real presence inside. ISU, I think he scored like 12 points. He made some really big baskets in the second half to really kind of make it a close game and all that. He's a tough guy to defend. I mean, he's like 6'8", 255 or something, so he's got a big body on him. He's somebody who could give ISU problems. Now, in Evansville, their star is Jalen Brown. Their other star is Ryan Taylor. He's a transfer from Ohio this year. Had a pretty solid season. Did not play very well in either game against Illinois State. He's a 6'6" wing guy, and he'll be their Jalen Brown next year. He'll be their leading scorer. ISU was able to neutralize him both times. Tony Wills took him a lot of time in those games, and I think that was part of the reason Ryan Taylor didn't play very well against Illinois State. But he's a kind of a guy who could go off at any minute. He's had a couple of really 25-point games this season.
Okay, all right, we'll take a look at our second question here from Michael. Do you still believe ISU gets into the tournament if it loses to Wichita State in the championship game on Sunday? That's been the recurring question for a few weeks now.
Yeah, I know, and I understand the
question. It is a legitimate question.
Right. Obviously, you can just say, we're not in the committee room. We don't know what... And each year the committee is different. Each year's committee values something different than maybe, let's say, the previous committee did. So you just don't know. The only thing I can say is ISU, if they would get in that scenario, losing a close game to Wichita on Sunday, where the committee's going to be watching. Like I said last week, they're going to be watching. So if they lose a close game, the committee kind of looks at them a little bit. There's a chance, I would think, that they would be in one of the play-in games in Dayton on Tuesday or Wednesday. That's before all the action really starts. You're in the NCAA tournament, but you have to kind of play your way in, and that's okay. I mean, I think ISU, if they would lose that game, they'd take that in a heartbeat if they knew that was for a fact. But a lot will depend too on these other conference tournaments. If, let's say, I don't know, just picking out of a hat, if the Big Ten tournament of Penn State wins, well, wow, there's a bid that nobody expected or something like that. Disappears real fast. So there's 36 at-large bids. They go pretty fast.
And a lot of it also kind of depends on how conferences like the Big Ten, how many bids they actually get. I mean, you wonder how many bids the Big Ten actually deserves this year.
Yeah, well, that's another story.
But we know how big conferences always seem to get a lot of spots. So.
Well, it's like I told you, Joe, it's the golden rule. The people with the gold make the rules, and they dominate these committees. And for the most part, they're gonna get their guys in.
Well, as we've said a few weeks in a row now, the easiest way to avoid all that is to just win that game on Sunday and win the title. And you don't have to sweat anything out.
That's exactly right.
All right, well, we were going to wrap it up for another edition here. We're going to see whatever happens in St. Louis this weekend and see what happens as far as when we'll be back with another show. Thanks for watching.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jared.